Welcome. This is going to be an introduction to HTML and using it for the first time for complete newbies, beginners, feeling lost. If you want to take control of your website and own your website and take a full control of all its aspects, then this is the place for you. If you've never touched HTML before, I thought to myself, well, how would I like to learn it? And I thought, well, why don't I put together a little series or a playlist, or come up with some sort of different parts that go through different sections. So let's get started straight away, and I'll go into more in-depth later. But let's go and right-click the screen, the desktop, and go new folder. And I'll for this purpose, we're just learning, it's education, so I'm going to call this my dash websites, just for that purpose. Okay, and I'm going to drag that and put that into over there. That's that done. And I'm going to put all my files inside my websites folder. Now for this purpose, inside this folder, this is what you could do following my instructions. I'm going to create a new folder inside. Seems daft, a new folder to new folder, but yeah, create a new folder and call this my first website. Click it. There's your first website inside this. Do yourself a favor straight off the bat. Inside, now open up your new found website. Not a website at the moment. Create a new a new folder inside that, and call that basically images. Okay, that's that done. Now we want to at least put one. I was going to show you how to put one picture inside there. Okay, so let's close that one down. Open up this image. I've got images ready to go. As you can see, I've got these great pictures. I've reduced this down using GIMP. You can see the original, it should come up 15 megabits. That's way too big for the internet. So this one is 45 kilobytes. So that's the one we want. I've reduced it. I'll show you how to do image processing after. But let's copy that out. Open up my websites folder. Click up my first website. Click out the images, and we'll paste that picture in. That's that set up and ready to go. You can do this sort of yourself. You've got to do this yourself, but don't worry too much about that image. But let's get started. Open up Notepad, and there it is, basic Notepad. You can have Notepad, or you can have the equivalent to Notepad in a Mac. I'm using it on Windows. You could, if you wanted to, go for a text editor of your choice. I mean, at the moment I think I've got Visual Studio Code, or I could use it on Visual Studio Code. There it is. You can see that. Yeah, but at the moment I'm going to keep it in Notepad because you can do it. Now let's talk about HTML and what it is, what a web page is constructed of. It has to have some sort of code. A web browser needs code, and that code is HTML, and that's how you as a coder are going to interpret and tell the browser what you want it to display. So how do we do that? We start by writing tags. A tag of its autonomy is basically an opening tag and a closing tag. What does an opening tag? Well, you start with a less than bracket, or if you like, they're called angle brackets. So left angle bracket, and we're doing the HTML tag to start an HTML page is that one, and then you end it with a right angle bracket or a greater than symbol. Either way, that's the opening tag of an HTML web page. Next, we're going to have to close it, and we have a / as the closing tag. So the closing tag for HTML is / HTML, and then a right angle bracket. Put your cursor in the middle of each, and that's where the content will be inside that. Essentially, you could save this as that's it. That's your first web page. We're going to, and to save it as that web page, it has to have a home. We don't call it home.html. It has to. All web pages and websites have an index, and to call it home would be wrong. It has to be. Come on, work. So you save as, okay, and then you should get this thingy. Open them up. We've got images. There's HTML. We don't want that. We're going to call it index. Why? Because it's called index. All websites have a home page. That home page is called index.html, and that's what you call it. If you then created an about page where the index would link to, you would name it about.html. If you had a contact page, you have a contact.html. But for this purpose, just call it index.html and save. And you can see at the top there it's got index. If we then go back to our file structure and go to our desktop, there it is, go to my websites, go to my first website. Oh, look at this, the index is now popped in and it's through Chrome. If I double click this, there it is. There's my first ever web page. You've just created a web page just by putting basic that there. That's your first web page done. Don't worry too much about meta information and things like that. This is just to get up and running. Most web pages, all web pages, have a head, and it's exactly that. Left angle bracket, right head. Don't forget to close the tag by sticking a / and the head, and again put your cursor in between those two tags and press enter, and now we're going to give our page a title. And what do we do with a title? Again, it's exactly that. Left bracket, we go title, close that bracket. We now close the tag with title, and what do we call it? My first website. So I'll call it that. No, what we'll call this, because we're on the home page, because that's what it is, we'll call it home, because that's just where we want it to be. So we'll call it home. We'll press save. So we've got our HTML tag here, yeah, and we've also got our head, where all the meta information and bits and bobs will be, and links and everything. So at the moment we've got title home. Now if it's all been saved correctly, which it has, we can now go back to the browser and click this. See this index at the top there, it says index.html. If we press refresh, it now says home. So that's now home. So this will be our index, and as you can see over here, my extension is index.html, but it now says home. That's where this title here comes from, and it's that using that title that will give SEO basis. But again, you're going too far. But if you look at the website, it's not very good, is it? So we need some sort of content. We need an idea where to put the content. We can't just put it inside this. So we put all the content that is displayed on the web page, in every web page, we put it in a body tag, a BODY body. And don't forget, if you've got an opening tag of body, we need a closing body tag. Simple. Then anything I stick between these two tags inside the body tag will be displayed on the web page. Now, I'm not going to go too far into different other tags and headings, but basically an H1 tag is the largest header tag that you can have, or headings tag. Okay, the largest. You can define the size of your text by pixels, by points, by millimeters, etc., later on. We'll talk about that later. But look, I've forgotten to do something. I've forgotten to close the H1 tag.
So don't forget to close the H1 tag. Now in between this bit here, in between the H1 tag, for which I'm just going to highlight that and just reduce, there's the H1 tag. I'll do this to show you. In between these two tag bits here is where the content will be. Okay, so if I now call it my first website, okay, and save it, I've got the new body tag and an H1 tag has been saved. So where is it? Don't forget to press your refresh button. Look at this, I've got my first ever bit of text on the screen. That's great. This is an introduction to this thing, and I wanted to explain and showcase how easy it is to get started. Now if you wanted sample content or things like that to put in, you can go to a place called Lipsum. If you go to Lipsum, oh there it is, I searched for it before. We go generator, click on that. It's what we've come on, click at work, and if you look down here, you got different nationalities, different text, different languages. So the first one will always be English. Just press Control and C, go down to your control thingy pad, just come round. We're going to use a new tag called a P tag. And what does the P stand for? Paragraph. Don't forget to close the tag with the / in the right brackets, and remember, in between these two brackets, in between these two brackets here is where the content will be. You haven't got to do anything special, just Control and V, and now we've got text inside a P tag. So let me just bring those P tags in its own right, and there it is. We've got the opening HTML, the closing HTML, the opening head, the closing head. We've got the opening title, the closing title. We've got the opening body, the closing body. Opening H1, closing H1. Opening P, closing P. Let's go see what that looks like. Control and S it. And you guessed it, if you go and press the refresh button here, we've now got text on the screen. Wow, how easy is that? This is just the basics. We're going to go into more advanced stuff later. This is to get your feet wet and to gain confidence in doing it. If I wanted a teaching somewhere, I wanted it to be taught like this. Do you know what I mean? Simple, easy, straightforward. Now let's say we put that image that I just copied into it. That's no problem. Let's say, for instance, I've forgotten how to do that, right? Let's say I've forgotten how to add an image. We could, add image to add image HTML, and here we are, image tag. This resource is going to be a place where you are going to come back to again and again and again if you're learning. So at the moment you can see I've already looked at this. Let's go and just copy that out, highlight that. I'll talk to that in a minute. Let's go to the image. We can go like this, paste it down, it must be inside the opening and closing of the body tag. You can see that we don't need to define the width and height of it. We will give it an alt tag, an alt description, and basically an alt description is for accessibility. So if somebody is hard of hearing, hard of sight, whatever, if they hover over the picture, this should pop up, and I'll say close up of of grapes, and of course but I haven't got this, have I? Do you know what I mean? .jpeg. I think mine's called close up. If in doubt, click it, click on the images, and it says close up grapes 10. Close up grapes 10. So close up
dash, I think it's grapes 10. Double check that. Always check what your name is. Close up, yep, that's good. Grapes 10, grapes10.jpg. Yeah, I know I've made a mistake. Don't worry about that, people. This is a common mistake in HTML when inserting images. I know this isn't going to work, but let's Control and S anyway. We're going to click on this and go back to this page where we're doing it today, and we're going to press refresh. What's happened here? Because the picture is hidden inside, this is my first website. If you go to my websites, my first website being the one I'm doing today, okay, images is inside a folder, so it has to have a hierarchy, it has to have a way to it, and the way we put that to it is we tell it inside the code or the image tag that we have to, you have to go to images first, and then it's a /. So images first, then it says now step down from images. Inside you'll find close-up grapes10.jpg. If I press save and go back to this home page here and press refresh, oh, look, there's my image. Hey! And it's a file structure. So if you went deep inside and you were going to have a massive file structure, and some websites go large in file structure, but don't worry about that. I've done it this way just to get you into the mode of sticking it inside an images file. So that's it, people. I think that if you come to this website, w3schools.com, and check out their tutorials, it's fantastic. I would say sign up and start your journey with these guys. They'll teach you lots of it. But I wanted someone to, if I was learning for the first time, just to get my feet wet, get some confidence, and basically you're probably asking, where's the closing tag for the image? You don't have to have a closing tag for the image. An image is inside this. I can dictate where I want the image to be for positioning and etc. later on. But basically, this is just to get your confidence going, get your feet wet, and hopefully you found this informative. In the second part 2, I'm intending to create a template for which then I'll talk about the HTML declaration, I'll talk about the header, more for the head, more in-depth meta information, I'll talk about body, I'll talk about the different heading styles, a lot of other different tags that we'll include inside our basic template. Without this thing I'm going to be putting together, we'll talk about responsive web design, it will talk about image processing, it will talk about grid systems, there's so much to talk about, but at the moment this is just to get your feet wet and to show you what you can actually do just by writing some little bit of code here, adding an image into a folder, and you've got your first website done and dusted. There it is. Okay, it's just the one page. I'm going to talk about links, tables, there's loads of things to talk about, but for now, if you like this one and you want to see how I will show you how to create a template for which we'll start every single session with, that'll be in the next part, building an HTML template as a starting block. So if you've enjoyed this, thanks very much for watching, and in the description I'm going to leave a little link to a book which I think it gets 10 out of 10 from me, and in this book by John Duckett, it's called HTML and CSS Design and Build Websites. It's laid out clean. I think if you've never touched websites before, this is a perfect book. If you've touched websites and you class yourself a professional, having this on the bookshelf as a reference guide, you must get it. It is tip top. He gets the 10 out of 10 from me. So the link to that book is in the description. I advise you to get it if you've never touched it before. And yeah, I can't wait to see you in the next part, building an HTML template. So thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.